What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another favorites video for you. So today is the much awaited top 22 nail polishes of 2022. I just recently did a video of my top 5 favorite nail polish collections of 2022, which is a little bit of a tradition that I started a few years ago. And also with that, each year I've been doing a top 20 of 2020, a top 21 of 2021, and now we've got the top 22 of 2022. I tried not to do too many repeats of those original 5 collections, but these 2 videos I like to think of as fairly separate because the 5 collections are just full collections that I loved the color story of. I loved every single polish in it, and I just felt that they were really perfect for the time of year. They really inspired me, that sort of stuff. These are the polishes that I found myself wearing the most throughout the year, and maybe they weren't from a collection I love or a brand I particularly love, but they are just my favorite releases that came out in 2022. So just a couple of general reminders. One, this list is not in order. It's kind of in like a rainbow order, not in order of favorites. I just like to do that because my little comparison chart at the end, I like when it's nice and flowy. And 2, these are just my personal picks, my personal favorites. Just because they're mine doesn't mean they have to be yours, so please don't feel pressured to like just because I like it, and please don't feel like a polish isn't good just because it's not on my favorites list. I will say, when I first started pulling out my favorite polishes of 2022, I actually started out with 48 and I had to narrow it down to 22, which was really hard to do. And I know you guys would have loved to see a video on my top 48 polishes, but one of the whole reasons that I even do this series is because I really like to narrow it down and give you guys a smaller amount of favorites so that it doesn't feel like an overwhelmingly large amount of products to choose from. So I really wanted to narrow it down to the 22, you know what I mean? But without further ado, let's just get started. So the first polish in my 2022 favorites is Orly Dreamers Awake, and this is actually the only cream finish out of all of my favorites this year, which I think is pretty wild, considering I always say that cream is my favorite finish, but there were so many specialty finishes that I absolutely loved this year, and this one was the true standout in terms of all of the cream finishes that I used in 2022. This was part of the Orly Surrealist collection for fall 2022, I believe, and it just became my go-to gray. I feel like I always grab for this when I want to do any sort of topper that has black or white in it. I just feel like this is the perfect complement to it, and I feel like it's just such a perfect neutral color. I'm always looking for a great gray nail polish, and this just instantly became a favorite of mine. It's a nice neutral color, so it doesn't lean too warm, it doesn't lean too cool. It's a light shade as well, and it's also really opaque for being how light it is. So definitely love this one. I think I actually swatched all of my collaboration polishes, the toppers, over this one because I just thought it complemented them perfectly. So yeah, definitely wore this one a lot, and I think it's stunning. Next up, we have Holo Taco Greyt, and this was part of their collaboration with Julian Solomita, and there were a lot of things that I loved about this polish. It's this sort of dark gunmetal gray that has a bluish undertone to it, and I think it is such great quality. One thing that I loved about that collection is that Julian wanted all of the polishes to have the wide flat brush that Holo Taco does, which is usually only for their cream finishes, but I believe this is the only non-cream finish they have with the wide flat brush, so I instantly fell in love with it for that. I do prefer a wide flat brush in general, but I also think the color is really gorgeous. Again, always looking for a great gray, no pun intended. And I also love the blue coloring to this one. I just love how cool toned it is. I think it's a nice formula. It gives me good coverage in 2 coats, and I do like a slightly brush strokey finish. That's just something that I think looks pretty elegant on the nails. Definitely enjoyed this one. Definitely wore it a lot this year. Next up, we have a polish from Starrily. This one is called Crypt, and this is actually what I'm wearing on my nails right now, and I feel like I wore this polish so many times this year. It's another gray. It's like a deep charcoal gray linear hollow, and I have to say, I think this is probably the most holographic polish I own, and I feel like I've said that before about a lot of polishes, but there is something about this. I think silver is always the most holographic color when it comes to linear hollow, and I do have a lot of super bright rainbowy linear hollows in the color silver. This is the first one I have that's not silver. It's like a deeper color that still has that much holographic coloring to it, so that's something I absolutely absolutely love about this one. It just feels like it sits somewhere between a silver holo and a black holo, and it is a one coater. I am actually wearing one coat on my nails, and I find myself using one coat of this all the time. It's just a really gorgeous color. I love how opaque the formula is. And again, I just think that gray is a really great neutral color for me. So I just reached for this color a lot. I think it's gorgeous. Even in indirect lighting, I find it to be super holographic, but in the sun, it is extremely hollow. Next up, we have another polish from Starrily. This one is called Into the Woods, and this is a really rich brown that is absolutely packed with silver hollow flecks. And this is the same formula as my collaboration polish Diamond Rain, and I love that formula. There's just something about those silver hollow flecks in there that remind me of like a diamond sparkle, and I love it applied to this brown base color. It's so deep, it's so rich and chocolatey. It feels like such a perfect fall color, but again, it's this nice neutral color, so I feel like you can get away with wearing this for a lot of different reasons, and I feel like it's office appropriate because it's just a nice basic brown color, but then once it hits the light, you see all of that hollow sparkle, and it looks so beautiful. Again, really nice formula, very opaque, and I just feel like I wore it a lot, even though I didn't get it until relatively late in the year. Next up, we have a polish from What's Up Nails. This one is called Earth-like. I think this was actually part of their Geodes collection. One thing I love about What's Up Nails is they have been releasing these nail polish collections that go with eyeshadow palettes that match the nail polishes, which if you know me, you know I'm very into matching everything, so I think that's super awesome. But this color was such a standout for me. It's actually a textured polish. It's got this sort of rosy brown base, and then we've got this intense blue shimmer that around the edges actually looks a little bit pink, and it does dry down to a sandpapery finish, which is something that I loved when I first got into nail polish. The OPI liquid sands were all of my dreams, also the Zoya Pixie Dust. So seeing a brand bring that back, I thought was just so exciting. Of course, you can add a top coat if you want to smooth it out, but I like having textured nails. I think it's really fun. Another cool way that I've worn this is wearing it over black. Totally transforms it into a different polish. It looks like this almost like intense brownish blue kind of color. So I love a polish that I can wear on its own and also wear over a different color and make it look totally different. So it feels like I get two polishes in one for this one, and I just think it's stunning, and I can match my eyeshadow to it. Next up, we have a relatively new polish to my collection, and actually a relatively new brand to my collection. This is Painted Polish Rainbow Roast. I actually just recently tried painted polish for my Small Brand Sunday series, and I instantly fell in love with their formula. I think they just have such great quality, and I love the color combinations that they've done. This was definitely my favorite out of all of the painted polish shades I've tried so far. It's this soft, almost like taupey brown base, and it is packed with a rainbow of metallic mini glitters, and I just think it's a lot of fun. I love a neutral color paired with something bright and fun, like a rainbow glitter. I love that Krelly formula. It just brings me back to what I first started loving about indie nail polish, and I just think they really nailed it and had just the perfect amount of opacity in that base color to make the rainbow glitters show through. And this to me just feels like an any time of year color. It's kind of like funfetti neutral. I can see myself wearing this a lot more. I've already worn it and absolutely loved it. Next up, we have what I think is actually the only spring polish. This is Penelope. I actually don't remember which collection this was from, but I'm pretty sure this was one of their spring 2022 releases. I just really appreciate a nice neutral color with something a little extra in it. This one is this sort of rosy pink Krelly base. It's a little bit of a sheerness to it, and then we've got these gold metallic flecks running throughout. There's just something very delicate and fancy about it. It feels like the perfect wedding color, either as somebody who's attending a wedding or potentially as the bride. I think it's a perfect special occasion manicure, and I think it's also a great palette cleanser. You know, when you've been wearing a lot of really bold colors, sometimes you just want something soft. And this is what I always go to for that, because I think it's really soft, but it also still has that something special in it. So definitely enjoy this one. Next up, we have another polish from ILNP. This one is called Poppy, and this was part of their Splashed collection, which was one of my top 5 favorites of the year. So absolutely had to include it. It was actually hard to decide my favorite of them, but just in terms of the polish polish I probably reached for the most. It was this one, which is this really gorgeous pinky red jelly base that has this holographic fleck running throughout, but there's also a matching metallic red shimmer in there. And I think it just adds so much depth to the polish. It makes it so interesting. It's so sparkly and fun for the summer. And I did choose a red because I feel like that's kind of a classic nail polish color that you can wear any time of year. A lot of those shades to me felt very distinctly summery, but this one, I feel like this is an any time of year kind of color. Now I feel like we're getting into the section of the favorites that are repeats of my favorite collections, but these are just my top favorites in those collections as well. So of course I have to include the Orly Breathable Light My Campfire, which was part of the Fall Winter 2022 collection, and I instantly fell in love with this one. It's this gorgeous, deep, rich orange metallic polish. It has that nice brush strokey finish that I love. It is so opaque, and I just feel like it's such an eye-catching color. Again, it's relatively new to my collection, but it just always catches my eye when I see it on my nail polish tower, and I always want to wear it. It feels like a great fall winter color, but I feel like I can see myself wearing this in the summer as well, and definitely using it for stamping because it is super, super opaque. Definitely fell in love with this one. This was by far my favorite in that In the Spirit collection, which is hard to say because there were a lot of really good ones in there as well. And then we've got China Glaze Preserved in Amber, which was part of their Jurassic World collection. This was a tough call. I did mention this in my top 5 favorite collections, that I absolutely loved this collection, and I think the shade that stood out to me the most in that collection was the polish Olive to Roar, which was this olive green color that had a bumpy textured finish. And I was thinking about it, and although I love the creativity of that polish, I think I only wore it once, but this polish I absolutely think is just generally stunning. I think it is perfectly named. It really does look like something preserved in amber. It's this gorgeous jelly yellow that is packed with these bigger deep gold flakes, and then we also have a shimmer in here. So we've got a little bit of a gold shimmer, but we also have a pinky shimmer in there as well. And I don't know, I just think it's really eye-catching and interesting. It feels like a nice yellow gold treasure kind of manicure. It feels perfect for summer, but I also think this would be a great holiday manicure as well because it kind of reminds me of like a candle flame. So yeah, although Olive to Roar was a more interesting color, this one I think is a more wearable polish, and I definitely enjoyed wearing it a lot. Next up, we have a polish from Ice Cream Nails. This is Sun-Kissed, and this was a part of that collection. I kept on calling them white multichromes. I actually don't remember the name of the collection, but I absolutely loved all of those polishes. There were these iridescent, pearlized, sort of sheer polishes, but you could build them up to full coverage. And I would say this one was my favorite out of them just because I think that the color shift in here was the most interesting. When you see it over the naked nail or over a light neutral color, I think it looks a little bit more yellow into green into blue into purple, but then over black it totally transforms, looks completely different. And as I said, I love wearing a transformative nail polish that looks different over different colors, but I did find myself wearing this on its own a lot, and I actually really enjoyed that whole collection. So honestly, I would recommend every single one of them. I also think that Sun-Kissed was one of the more opaque shades because some of them were a little bit more sheer than others, so something to keep in mind. But yeah, absolutely love this shade, absolutely love Ice Cream Nails, love the concept, and I just think it's really fun to have a polish that I can wear as a topper over anything and it'll look totally different. Next up, we have a polish from Cirque Colors. This is Groove Thing, which you knew I had to include on this list. It is this gorgeous lime chartreusey kind of green jelly that has a duochrome shimmer in there that shifts from this like coppery red into pink into gold. And then we also have a scattered holographic fleck running throughout. And I just think this is probably my favorite ugly pretty nail polish of the year. Actually, looking at my collection, the only ugly favorite in the whole group. And Cirque really does know how to make a great ugly pretty polish. But another cool thing about this polish that I only recently discovered is that you can also wear this over black and it looks like a totally different polish. I know I keep on mentioning that today, but it's because I love polishes where you get more than one type of polish from buying just one bottle, you know what I mean? So I think it just adds to the value of the polish, but overall I think it's a really stunning color. I don't think videos will do this one justice. You really have to see it in person. It's just so unique and interesting. Definitely a conversation starter. This next one is probably going to surprise a lot of people. This is Essie Head to Mistletoe, and this was from their winter 2022 collection, which I only recently got. And I'm sure it is a surprise that I picked this over what I've probably worn a lot over the course of the year because I got it earlier in the year. But this was such a standout color to me. I just feel like I'm gonna wear it so much. It's this soft, almost sage green metallic base, but what makes this interesting and different from anything else in my collection is there's actually a little gold metallic fleck running throughout. And I just think, especially for a mainstream brand, that is so different and exciting. The formula was absolutely incredible. I used to hate the Essie formula and I feel like it's improved so much. So I definitely enjoyed that. Obviously it was meant to be a winter holiday polish, but to me this also feels like a soft springy kind of color, and I just feel like it's gonna get a lot of wear from me, so I had to include it. I just think it's stunning, and you know I love a green nail polish. I promise this is the last of the repeats from my top 5 favorite collections, but you know I had to include this one as well. This is Orly Metamorphosis. I would say out of all of the polishes that I have worn this year, Orly Metamorphosis and the gray shade Dreamers Awake that I showed you in the beginning, these two have been the polishes that I've worn the most, which is actually crazy considering I only got them in probably July or August, but they have absolutely dominated my nail polish collection. This is one of the most stunning colors. I am so glad that Orly came out with it. It's this gorgeous teal color, and we've got this duochrome shimmer in here that shifts from like a coppery color into gold. It feels like the perfect fall color, but it also just feels like such an interesting nail polish while not being too out there or bright. It's kind of this soft muted color, but the combination of that cool toned base and the warm shimmer in there, I don't know, it's just so fun. It's so funky. I know a lot of people loved this shade in 2022. I'm going to continue to wear it a lot. I try my best not to wear it too often because I just always find myself reaching for it, but I can't help myself. It's absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we have a tie, because we've got two polishes that I would say are very nearly dupes of each other. And I feel like I was so good with actually only having 22 polishes, and none of them are collabs, by the way, but I have to share both of these at the same time. I couldn't just pick one. That is Holo Taco Lost in the Woods and Ice Cream Nails Game Changer. They are both deep forest green linear hollow polish. They are slightly different from one another. The Holo Taco shade is a little bit deeper, and the Ice Cream Nails one is a little bit brighter and more saturated. We also have a little bit bigger of a hollow pigment in the Holo Taco and a little bit finer, more linear hollow in the Ice Cream Nails one. Both of them absolutely incredible. Both of them wore a lot. Do you need both? Honestly, probably not, because they're very similar. Am I glad that I have both? Definitely. I just think it's a really stunning green color. I love green nail polish. I love linear hollow polish. I think they both happen to have such great formulas, and they have so much of that rainbow shine to them. And I have to say, the hollow polishes that Ice Cream Nails released this year were so out of this world. It was actually really hard to pick a favorite. My next one is from that collection as well, but they did a really incredible job making hollow polishes. And of course, Holo Taco is pretty much known for their hollow polishes, so both of them are just really amazing. So yeah, speaking of Ice Cream Nails hollow polishes, this is Ice Cream Nails Ride the Wave, and this is the most gorgeous turquoise linear hollow polish. It is so eye-catching. I feel like I get so distracted by my nails when I wear this. Again, Ice Cream Nails came out with so many incredible linear hollows this year. It was actually 2 different collections, but I think there's a total of 20 linear hollow polishes in like every color, and I love absolutely all of them. This one and of course the green one are just 2 personal favorites because I love the colors, but all of them have amazing formulas. Honestly, it just depends on what you like to wear on your nails, but I would recommend every single one of them. I think they're all amazing, and I think they're just super, super holographic. So yeah, this to me screams summer. This is like the color of a pool when the sunlight hits it, and it kind of has that little like rainbow rainbow sparkle going on. That is this in a nail polish. Next up, we have another relatively new to me brand, which is Cadillacer. This is the shade Brisk Morning, and this was from their winter 2022 collection, which again was pretty recent, but this became such a standout polish in my collection. I don't think I have anything that looks even remotely like it, and I absolutely had to include it. It's this gorgeous, super soft blue base that has an iridescent shimmer running throughout that really shifts depending on how you look at it. Sometimes it looks a little pink, sometimes it looks orange, yellow, green, and then we also have these sort of satiny hex glitters that are bright blue, and honestly, it doesn't even look real on the nails. Like, it almost looks cartoony because it's so vibrant, it's so different. The formula, absolutely amazing. That whole collection that they did was stunning, but this one to me, it just felt so different. Definitely an underrated brand. I feel like they should be a lot more famous than they are because they just come out with stuff that feels like nobody else has ever thought of before, and I absolutely love that. It's new to my collection, but I'm definitely going to be wearing it a whole lot. Next up, we have another polish from ILNP, which actually, looking at my top 22, I believe that is the brand that I have the most of because ILNP did an incredible job in 2022. I would say 99.9% of their collections were a hit for me, but this was from their Halloween 2022 collection. It's called Lured, and this is just so different. It really doesn't feel like anything else I own. It's this deep black jelly base that is packed with these teal turquoisey flecks. I think there's also some holographic sparkle going on in here. I don't even know what this is made of, but it looks so cool and three-dimensional on the nails. Honestly, my videos will never do this one justice because there's something about the layers of flake and how 3D they look going into that black base that looks so cool. It's like you're looking into like another world and you're just getting a tiny little glimpse of it, but it's absolutely stunning. Haven't seen anything like it before. I really hope they release this type of thing in more colors. I would absolutely love to see it in red or purple, but yeah, totally loved it. Gorgeous color. Somewhat new to my collection, but I'm going to be wearing it a lot as well. Next up, we've got another polish from the Small Brand Sunday series and another polish that's very new to my collection. This is Transylvania, which I actually didn't even review until New Year's Day 2023, but this was released in December 2022 as part of their winter collection. And this is a gorgeous, like, denim blue holo. It's a linear holo. It's absolutely stunning. A England is one of the brands that I reviewed in my Small Brand Sunday series, but they're actually not new to me. This is the first indie brand I ever used, and there is no other formula like them. They're so smooth and buttery. They're incredibly opaque. I actually just picked this polish because it's the one that I wore first, but I've actually already worn 3 or 4 of the polishes in that collection, and I love every single one of them. So if you haven't seen that review, I highly encourage you to check it out because every single color is a win to me. I think they're all stunning. They're all super holographic. There's something about A England Holo that to me looks almost like pastel-y. So it's very different from any other color in my collection, but it's still so vibrant and bold. And again, I just can't get over the formula. It's so easy to work with. Next up, we have OPI You Had Me at Halo, which was their Xbox collaboration collection that I believe came out in spring 2022. So I guess it was a lie that was my only spring 22 polish when I mentioned the ILNP one. And this one, it was hard for me to include this on my list because this is actually a 3-coater. It's like this periwinkle jelly kind of polish that's packed with these little glass flecks that look so cool on the nails. I think this is such a stunning color. I don't love when mainstream brands are 3-coaters. I guess I give an exception to this one because I do think it's pretty different. I found myself wearing this one a lot and I felt like it was worth wearing it in 3 coats, which I feel like I don't always think about polishes, and that's when I kind of draw the line between whether a 3-coater is okay and when it's not okay. But I really loved this color. I think it's gorgeous. It was getting me very excited for summertime, but I also think this is a very pretty wintry color. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a cool anytime of year color. It actually weirdly reminds me of vacation because I almost wore this when I went on vacation to the Bahamas. I didn't wear it on vacation to the Bahamas. I wore Orly, it's Brittany Beach, but this was a very close contender. So I don't know why looking at it makes me think of vacation. And next we have KB Shimmer How Polarizing, which again, a winter 2022 collection, which I feel like my favorites have been very heavy in the winter polishes. I think this time of year tends to be my favorite time of nail polish releases. I'm not a huge fan of spring releases. I do find myself wearing fall and winter polishes a lot more often, but this was a very special one. It's actually a magnetic polish, so it's this gorgeous, deep, rich blue. It's packed with a silver hollow sparkle and it does magnetize. And the cool thing about this collection when KB Shimmer came out with it is they also released a zigzag magnet, which made the magnetic polishes in that collection look like the Northern Lights, which I thought was so cool. But this one, I also think is just gorgeous when you just magnetize it regularly. It feels very spacey and cosmic. It gets really deep, but you get to see that little subtle hollow sparkle in there. And then we get this bluish purple color shining through that's really intense. So I absolutely love it. I love the formula. It's super opaque. I don't know how many coats I did when I originally swatched it, but when I have worn it, I just did one coat for opacity and then I magnetized the second coat. So I feel like it's really opaque. And last but definitely not least, we have ILNP Last Call. I promise I did not plan that. That's hilarious though. And this was also an incredibly recent release. This was actually released for New Year's for 2022/2023. And I haven't even actually worn this as a full manicure yet, but I know I'm gonna wear this so much. It's this gorgeous color. It's almost like an indigo because it sits somewhere between being the richest blue ever and being a really intense, cool toned purple. And it almost has this like purpley pink shimmer going on around the edges. It's just, again, so deep, so pretty. Again, impossible to capture on camera. I definitely have to do a lot of color correcting with this, but when you see it in person, it is really unreal just because of that vibrant color. And it's in such a deep base that in lower lightings, it just looks kind of like a deep bluish purple kind of color. But when the light hits it, that intense blue comes out and it looks unlike anything I have. So immediately fell in love with it. Definitely gonna wear it a lot. I enjoy the formula of it. And like I said, ILNP did an incredible job in 2022. They came out with a lot of amazing polishes. So I'm really excited to see what they do for 2023. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be wearing a lot of these from 2022. So yeah, that was a lot of polishes to go through. If you stuck around this far, I'm very impressed. Here is my little comparison chart. You can see all of my top 22, which is technically 23 favorites of 2022. And I have to say, overall, I think we've got a nice variety of colors and finishes here. I think the biggest surprise for me is that I found myself wearing a lot more specialty finishes than usual this year. Like I said, I tend to wear cream finishes the most, but there have just been so many gorgeous releases that had the shimmers, the sparkle, the flakes, the hollow, all of that stuff that just felt so irresistible to wear on my nails. So definitely enjoyed wearing a lot of these. Well, I enjoyed wearing all of them. That's why they're my favorites. And I'm just really excited to see what comes out for 2023. Maybe this year we'll find some more spring polishes that I actually like, because I'm impressed with myself that there's actually 2 spring collections in here, because normally I don't really like spring collections at all. But yeah, I'm curious to hear if we share any favorites. If you did, which polish out of these was your favorite of 2022? If not, tell me your favorite polishes of the year. We can chat about it in the comments. If you enjoyed my favorites videos, please give this one a thumbs up. It lets me know I'm doing a good job, and I do have a lot more favorites videos coming in the future. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. And of course, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon, my Royal Astronomer Amanda M, as well as my Cosmic Admirals Rocket Man's Daughter, Paula, Ken, and Rosie. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Pookie Bear, and Pookie Bear wants to know, do you have any nicknames, or did you have any nicknames growing up? Pookie Bear also confirmed that Pookie Bear is a nickname, not a legal name. Okay, so I feel like this is actually, before I tell you the fun fact, I will tell you Kelly Marissa is my name. That's my first and middle name. And people always think that Kelly Marissa is my first name because of my YouTube channel. But no, my first name is Kelly. Most people just call me Kelly because it's only 2 syllables. It's not that, much to say. I would say family and friends tend to call me Kel. Yeah, that's the only nickname I would say I have. I mean, Ryan does not necessarily have a nickname for me. He just calls me Kelly, but we do call each other, you know, silly relationship names, as one tends to do that would be too embarrassing to share on the internet. But I do have a nickname for him. I feel like I call him Rye Bread all the time, but he doesn't know it because I never call him Rye Bread to his face. I just refer to him as Rye Bread to other people. So I feel like the first time he heard that, he was like, what? I guess to his face, I call him Rye most of the time. But yeah, no, I'm usually just Kelly or Kel. But if anybody has any fun or interesting nicknames, definitely let me know in the comments and we'll chat about it. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.